if Xi Jinping tries to invade Taiwan, would that be the start of World War III?
So it's hard to say exactly how World War III would look. I will tell you, I am very concerned because for the reasons I outlined earlier, that when you've got a number of conflicts growing around the world, and we have the greatest number since World War II happening right now. And you have all sorts of other problems. We've got AI threats, we've got cyber threats, we have climate change. I mean, it is a difficult time when it comes to the world of global politics at the moment. And that said, that's usually when you see things brewing for international conflict. But World War III, I'm not so sure of, because at the same time, we have systems in place now to try and prevent things like that. That's why you see the Biden administration flocking to China. They really are. You have a number of officials that have been going there since the summer, since diplomacy stopped working after the Chinese spy balloon incident. You have a number of US officials going there because the argument is that if we are talking to our enemy, then we are not fighting, and it prevents miscalculation there. So I think the Biden administration believes they can try and prevent this from happening, an invasion of Taiwan, through diplomacy. But I believe that President Xi will try to do everything he can, perhaps short of an invasion, just to communicate that he can invade when he wants. Just earlier this summer, he imposed a 3-day blockade around Taiwan because he could. And so I would expect to see more of that. But do I think it'll start World War III? No, but it would be extremely tense otherwise.
Switching gears now to the Middle East quickly, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying that he is facing a multi-front war. When you juxtapose that with the situation in the Red Sea with regards to the Iran-backed rebels, the Houthi rebels, blocking a series of vessels and U.S. vessels in that region, how volatile right now is the risk from exploding into a more significant conflict than the one that we've already seen between Israel and Hamas?
This is a great question, but I will tell you, while things are very destabilized, obviously, all of this stems from an effort by Iran to destabilize things further. That's what the Iranian regime does. When they see the opportunity, they try to destabilize things further. But as you've noticed, why is Iran not attacking Israel directly? Because they know that it would rope the United States into a bigger war and that the U.S. would win. And so they're trying to do everything short of that. So they're trying to poke a bear, if you will. You've got the Houthi militants, which are Iran-backed, Iran-funded, and they're trying to attack vessels and commercial ships in the Red Sea. And they're also trying to lob long-range cruise missiles and drones at Israel, all of which are being intercepted by U.S. and other vessels that are sitting parked monitoring the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. You have, like you said, attacks coming from Hezbollah. You've got issues coming from Syria, now Iraq. As you said, a 7-front war. But all of it is an effort to cause trouble, to make things difficult for Israel, to take advantage of the fact that their resources are focused on Gaza without creating a full-scale war, because they know they'd lose. And that's why you've got all that U.S. military presence, and now in the Red Sea, an international Navy presence, in order to prevent that. And I really believe that it would, because these are actors that all know that they would lose, perhaps save for Hamas. Hamas seems to feel very confident in its effort, though I believe that they will be defeated. They all know that. And so they're trying to poke a bear without launching something full scale. And I believe that that will remain the case. I also believe that the war in Gaza, in the grand scheme of how wars go, this will be a relatively short war. That's not to diminish its devastation, but it will be relatively short. And that's also why I don't expect things to blow up into some kind of big full-scale war.
And just lastly, before I let you go, I want to get your take on the Russia's war against Ukraine. Do you expect any major breakthroughs for peace in calendar year 24 for Ukrainians and Russians?
This is a tough one, because this war I would expect normally to go on for a very long time, especially with what you've seen lately. So the Ukrainian military was able to regain 50% of the land that Russia had seized in July. So all the land that Russia had seized since February 2022, by July of this year, Ukraine had been able to regain 50% of it, which is a success. And it doesn't mean that the counteroffensive is failing, as you've seen in a lot of headlines. That said, things now have moved into what one Ukrainian military official said was a stalemate, which means it's not going forward and it's not going backwards. That said, the Ukrainians, for their capabilities, are making major moves. They do have a number of successes, especially when it comes to more covert, creative operations. But the problem you have now is that the struggle for Ukraine aid is growing around the world. And while many leaders want to show Putin that there is no fatigue, that there is no rest in support for Ukraine, the fact is that they are facing troubles at home. And we saw it on Capitol Hill, where senators refused to pass a $50 billion aid package that would have been for Ukraine and Israel, unless there was money included for the southern border. They will compromise on that, I believe, and they will send something. But that already, Putin is watching that, and he sees that difficulty. You had the same thing in the EU, where the Hungarian prime minister blocked a bill for a major aid package to Ukraine. So given all that, you're probably going to start to see more calls for a negotiation, for the foundations for negotiation.
Hagar
So
Chemali,
if that doesn't happen, I think it'll be soon either way.